It's time for the Ron and Brian Podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. It is Monday night. It is 8 o'clock. It is 2023, and it is time for episode 238 of the Ron and Brian podcast. Brian, how are you doing, my friend? It feels like a couple of weeks since I've seen you last.
It feels like a couple of years since we have sat here, we have done the show. It is amazing to once again see that you are no longer using the Brian Beats, that Ryan beats himself up because he doesn't know how to do Wordle. You're using your new 2023 official Paisley mug. I don't know what's going on with that mug over there.
It's got owls
a lot
on it.
of color. But I do. This is a special time, and it's just I'm just glad to be here.
All right. Well, we have a lot to get into. It's been a couple of weeks. We hope everybody out there had a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We've obviously been off for a couple of weeks. So let's just get right into it with Drink of the Week.
Drink of the Week.
Na zdrowie.
Salud.
Drink of the Week. Pleasure.
Prost.
Drink of the Week. Drink of the Week. Drink of the Week. Drink.
Brian, what are you drinking this first episode of the new year?
I dug into the back of the beer fridge. I pulled out myself a hazy IPA coming from our friends over at 18th Ward Brewing. This is their Airship Tycoon hazy IPA. You know, Ron, it's a super easy. First off, just look at that color before I go into a description.
Yeah.
Look at that color. It's a super easy drinking New England IPA brewed with a mashup of American, German, English, and New Zealand ingredients. It's a huge bouquet of orange marmalade, guava, and passion fruit, which complements a peppery dankness on the nose. Massive citrus and tropical fruit with a light malt backbone and a pleasant bitterness finish. This light-bodied NE-IPA fills itself out, coming in at a 7.80 ABV. This is Air Tycoon.
Take a sip. Oh, that's a deep sip. How are we liking it?
It's got some flavor there.
Right.
The bitterness is masked by the citrus, so I'm enjoying it.
All right,
This
very
will
nice.
be a good beer.
Good.
Ron,
Yes.
what are you drinking?
Well, Brian, as you know, last year we solved our dispute with the good people over at Tavour. They're friends of the podcast again, and I was speaking to them, and they mentioned the last time they were on the phone with you, they were like, Brian just wouldn't stop talking about how he likes nuts in his mouth. Are you similar? I'm like, well, if it's in a beer, sure, why not? They weren't quite sure how you meant it, but they sent me from the good people at Indeed Brewing in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This is their Mixed Nuts Cream Ale. It's a spritzy mingle of hazelnuts, almonds, and roasted chestnuts. Clocking in at a 5.5. It's got notes of nuts, salt, and bread. Pretty nice looking body to it for a cream ale. Let's take a sip and see if the folks at Tavour did us right.
That is a healthy looking beer over there. Ron.
That is actually, hold on. There it is.
Now, what kind of bread are you tasting? Are you tasting rye? Are you tasting sourdough?
Getting more of just an overall yeasty taste from the bread, undertone of the nuts, and then the salt. Not too salty. I was concerned that it'd be too salty. We don't want
salty nuts.
We don't want salty nuts around here.
Yes.
I'm going to give this one a thumbs up. I'm glad I'm drinking it. It is Champ approved. Brian, we rolled out the new Ron and Brian title belt in our last episode of 2022. Quickly has become one of the most popular accessories for the podcast.
Let's see it again.
We're just gonna hold it up real quick. Again. I mean, look at that beautiful thing from the folks at Trophy Smack.
It
I mean, again,
looks like it's got heft.
again, it's 6 pounds of gold. We are working on getting more available on the web store, but we'll talk about that later. We've got, like I said, we've got so much to talk about, and we got our first beef of the week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you this week?
It's a simple one.
Okay.
This was, we took a week off last week for the Christmas holiday. And, I'm not going to lie. The last 2 weeks have just been filled with really good times of friends, of family, of loves, tears of joy, tears of merriment, just lovely times. And the only thing that I could come up with as we were entering this show, in terms of a beef, was people who complain about me having too many T-shirts.
Interesting.
Because, one thing I pride myself on is just having a great T-shirt collection.
I would give you that much.
I try not to wear the same shirt every week. And some people just sit there and say, Brian, you have too many T-shirts. You just have too many T-shirts. And there's only, it's really upsetting when you just keep going out and buying more and more T-shirts. But I just think,
that's just beautiful. What? Personally, I think that's the best one you've worn yet.
I think that, you can never have too many T-shirts. So I want to thank the nice, I set this one aside this week. I thought it was appropriate. I just said, you know what, to the nice people over at T Public, they sent me some over. They were like, Brian, you've helped us. You've supported us. What kind of shirt would you like? Just take a look. And I mean, just look at this beautiful T-shirt that I'm wearing today.
It is beautiful.
Just rocking it today.
Brings a little tear to my eye, actually.
It makes me happy. Makes me so happy to hear. Ron,
yes.
What's your beef of the week?
So my beef, Brian, is Christmas undecorating this week. Love Christmas decorating. Big fan of the holiday. You wouldn't know because you didn't make it during the holiday season. But the wife decorates. She loves Christmas. A lot of decorations up. Every room decorated.
Sure.
Looks like a freaking magazine in here. And then New Year's Day, we drop everything and put everything away, and it's a many-hour task. It's many trips up and down the cellar stairs, reorganizing the storage. So again, love decorating, love Christmas, but it's the undecorating on New Year's Day that's kind of a pain.
I have a question. Why do you guys have as a? Do you always do it on January 1st? How come? Because
sometimes we'll do it, the weekend after Christmas. It just, a lot of times we'll just do it New Year's Day because we're off from work, and just a good way to, get things taken care of.
Okay, that makes sense.
Good question from Janelle. Is my shoulder drooping from having holding that belt for so long? I have had to uptake quite a workout regimen since getting this belt. So I am stronger than ever, and I'll be easily carrying this belt. I'm going to set it down till later. It may make an appearance during After Dark tonight, but it does get a little bit heavy. So we'll just take it off there. Let's see. Oh, Brian.
Yes.
We also have to let people know our picks for the final weekend of football. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for NFL Locks of the Week.
Locks.
Now, we tried something a little bit different with the show not being on last weekend. We made our NFL Locks of the Week available only to Titanium members of the Patreon and higher. We had a conversation. We said, we've got a valuable commodity here. I mean, people literally are making thousands of dollars off of these Locks of the Week. Maybe we should make this available to our higher contributors on the Patreon. So we tried that out. I think it went well. We're still waiting on some feedback. But, not saying in 2023 we're going to put the locks behind the paywall, but we're not quite ready to commit to say that we're not.
Well, we have been receiving some, cease and desist letters from the NFL organization, the management, the executives, basically stating to us that the honesty of the game is being called into question because you and I each keep going 2-0. That the only way that could possibly be happening, according to the legal theme of NFL stinks, is that we just there's some type of collusion going on between us and the NFL. And that's not true.
Nope.
No, that's not happening. It is because Ron and I are just so superior in terms of being able to look at NFL games, look at the Vegas lines, and be able to just, it crystallizes right there in front of us as to what is the correct bet, or as we like to call it, the lock of the week. Ron, just congratulations. We took a week off, but you did not take a week off on your NFL picks. You are now 34-0. This past week, you sat there and said, hey, listen, Eagles 5.5 over the Saints. I love my Philadelphia Eagles, but I don't love them this week. New Orleans Saints winning 20-10. Also, you said the Jacksonville Jaguars laying 6 over the Texans. You said lay those points. You could put a 2 in front of that 6, and I would still lay those points. Jaguars win easily 31-3. Ron, congratulations.
Well, and congratulations right back at you, my friend. You picked a couple of blowouts. You said Detroit -6 versus the Bears. Detroit making a run for the playoffs. Chicago has nothing to play for, and they showed it. Detroit winning 41-10. Same thing with the Giants versus Indianapolis. Giants favored by 6. You said the Colts not going to show up. Same thing with that. New York Giants 38-10, bringing you to also a perfect 34-0 on the season. So, how do you do it?
It's what do you call it? It's a gift. It's just truly a gift, Ron.
Understood. So who do you have?
This? No, Ron.
No.
You're the champ. You go first.
All right, fair enough. So for week 18, final week of the regular season, I like those Jacksonville Jaguars again, locking up a playoff berth. They're favored by 6.5 at home against Tennessee. Take Jags -6.5. Cowboys go on the road, still in contention for the NFC East title as well as the number 1 seed. They are -3.5 at the Commanders. Commanders eliminated, nothing to play for. Take Dallas minus the points. Brian, who you got?
I've got the Minnesota Vikings -3.5 at the Bears. Bears, nothing to play for other than the memory of Mike Ditka and refrigerator William Perry. Vikings easily will win this game. Also, the New York Jets are the worst organization in the history of the NFL. They are only getting 1.5 points against the Miami Dolphins, regardless of whether this game is in the Meadowlands or is in Miami Stadium. You take Miami Dolphins, you lay that 1.5, and then you don't have to worry about rent. You don't have to worry about your mortgage because it's going to be paid off, people.
All right. Brian, so much to get to tonight. Do we want to start off with predictions?
I think so.
Predictions.
All right, as you longtime listeners of the podcast know, every January we make our predictions for the coming year, but we also go back and we grade our predictions from 2022 to see if we were correct or not. So let's start off by reviewing our 2022 predictions.
Predictions.
Brian, what was your first 2022 prediction?
My first 2022 prediction was that the stock market would end the year lower. And, if there was anything that I considered a lock, it was this. The Dow down over 10%, NASDAQ down over 30%. I could not have been more right. I I also wish that I had shorted the market. I did not put my money where my mouth is, and instead of winning a lot of money this year on the market, I lost significantly.
All right. Last year, we were getting ready to attend AEW in Newark, New Jersey, and I predicted that Brian would shock the wrestling world by winning the AEW World Championship. Unfortunately, due to some failed contract negotiations with Tony Khan, that never came to be.
So disappointing. I feel like he's so close to just hitting, a greatness, and his refusal to embrace both yourself and myself, it really is just holding the organization back.
What was your second prediction for 22?
There will be 2 more substantial COVID-19 variants after Omicron.
So there was not 2?
They were not substantial.
All right.
We have not had a substantial COVID-19 variant. They have announced that some variants are, but I would not consider anything substantial. 2022 really was the year where Omicron took over in December into January, and COVID has pretty much, it is still there, but no longer seen as a life-threatening force. Where it goes, we do not know. Nobody can predict it except Ron and I. We're not doing it right now. Might be in our 2023 predictions.
You never
know.
I
was wrong on that one.
All right. I said that Americans that lose loved ones to mass shootings during the year will receive an overflow of thoughts and prayers, but no meaningful actions or legislation. And unfortunately, that proved to be very true.
That is very good. Well done on that one, Ron. I said that for my third prediction, I said that Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz will resign in disgrace. A lot of you will remember that a year ago, the Florida representative, I believe, who was, very much had sided himself with the election deniers, the Donald Trump world. He was being investigated by federal authorities for a relationship he had with an underage 17-year-old Florida girl who he had Venmoed a substantial amount of money and also had accompanied him on some out-of-state trips. I said that this would result in him resigning. That has not happened. Nothing's happened or materialized really from that investigation. My guess is that Matt Gaetz will walk free.
And I had a Matt Gaetz prediction, too. I said he will announce his candidacy for the nation's highest office, forming a partnership with Josh Duggar that they call a pedophile presidential super ticket with the campaign slogan, "Make America Underage Again." Felt good about that one, but it did not come to fruition. Brian,
that's a shame. That is a shame.
The next one?
My fourth prediction, I really went out on a limb here, and I said that Ghislaine Maxwell will be alive on December 31, 2022. A year ago, this did not look like it was going to be something that was going to happen. I am proud to say that when I put my head down at 11:59 on December 31st, Ghislaine Maxwell was not only alive, but she was thriving in a federal penitentiary. Ron.
All right. Good one. Yes.
Ron, what was your fourth pick?
Brian will go to a strip club and spend no money, hoping to put the $900 story permanently to rest. Did you go to any strip clubs this year, Brian?
I did not go to a strip club this year, Ron. I'm sorry to disappoint you. $900 still in my pocket.
All right. Well, I mean, half and half. I'm going to call that
Sure.
0.5.
Yep. Nah, you can't take a 0.5.
All right.
For my fifth pick, I said that Andrew H. will be the winner of the Ron and Brian podcast 2022 Death Pool, and that William Esquire will be a close second. I know that we are going to put a pin on the Death Pool. We've got a lot to discuss with that later. But I'm just going to, reveal that I took a loss on that.
All right. I said that spring will bring us the Lambda variant of the coronavirus. Current vaccines will be ineffective in fighting it, and the only people immune from it will be those lucky enough to get a blood sample from David Carradine or Anthony Edwards. I guess that was a bit of a stretch.
That did not take place. This one is really hurt because I was positive on this one. I said that Ron will divorce his wife and embrace the furry lifestyle. I've predicted this the last 14 years, and I took a loss in 2022.
Yet again. Speaking of taking a loss, my sixth prediction was that the New York Yankees will win the 2022 World Series.
That's a shame.
Don't want to talk about it.
Should have happened. Speaking of predicting sports teams to win major championships, I predicted that the Green Bay Packers will win the 2022 Super Bowl. Not even close. It was the Los Angeles Rams.
All right. Johnson & Johnson will admit that they never really came up with a COVID vaccine. They had just filled a bunch of vials with watered-down baby shampoo. QAnon really gave this some traction, but unfortunately we were not able to get confirmation. So I'm afraid I have to take an L on that.
Speaking of taking L's, I predicted that the Republicans will take control of the Senate, but not the House during the midterm elections. I was close. The T was muddy. I had it mixed up. The Republicans took control of the House, but not the Senate during the midterm elections in what was widely seen as an embarrassing showing in 2022 Congress elections, mostly blamed on Donald Trump and the candidates he supported. Ron, what was your eighth pick?
The CDC will announce that testing is no longer needed for COVID-19. Instead, they suggest that if you feel sick, just spit into a friend or family member's mouth and see how it plays out. Surprisingly, that is actually up on the CDC website. I took a look earlier before the show. I mean, it's the science is there, Brian. That's all I'm going to say. The science is there. Can you include a link in the afterwards
in the comments here? Because I'm not sure that I saw that. For my ninth pick, I predicted that Roe v. Wade will be overturned by the Supreme Court.
Sadly, you were correct.
I was correct on that. Ron, what was your ninth pick?
Brian will Brian will marry his fleshlight in a ceremony that many will call the wedding of the decade. No?
Nope, it is not happening. Sorry.
All right, what was your final prediction for this past year, 2022?
I said that Russia will send its military into Ukraine, resulting in a short operation before pulling back behind its borders. I feel like I'm about 75% correct here. Russia, not 100 though. Russia did invade Ukraine earlier this year I believe it was about February when the Russian troops invaded Ukraine's borders. It was they started off very strong, seizing quite a bit of land. However, the Ukrainian army proved to be quite the resistance, not only stopping the flood of Russian troops into the country, but actually taking the advantage and pushing Russia back. Russia has ceded much land that they initially took over. The amount of war crimes and deaths and dismay, despite William Esquire's glee, has been widely documented. Unfortunately, I don't think I can take a win on that one.
All right. And my final prediction was, with Ron and Brian not pointing out racism each week, people will forget it exists and it will just disappear.
God damn, you got that one right.
I did.
You got that one right.
I got that one. Well, that can only mean one thing. It's time to look ahead to the coming year and give our new
predictions. All seeing, all knowing.
All right. Brian, start us off. What is your first prediction for 2023, my friend?
All right. So my first prediction is the stock market ends the year positive.
Oh, all right. I mean, it would make sense. What goes down must go up again.
Absolutely. And I've got money invested. So let's Let's make it happen. Ron, what is your first prediction for 2023?
The Yankees will win their 28th World Championship, beating the New York Mets in a dramatic Game 7 when Carlos Correa's right ankle will break in the bottom of the ninth, trying to field an Aaron Judge bunt, allowing the winning run to score.
That is oddly specific.
Gaze into our crystal balls.
And oddly, we're talking baseball here. My prediction is the New York Mets fail to make the MLB playoffs.
Interesting. So only one of us really can be fully right on that.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
All right. Andrew H. will return to championship form in the 2023 death pool, racking up 8 deaths and a record number of points.
Listen, if there's anybody rooting for him, it's Ron and Brian. My third prediction is, and like I said earlier, we're going to put a pin in conversation of the death pool. We will be talking about it shortly.
Yes, exactly. So what is your third prediction?
That Vladimir Putin negotiates a peace treaty to end the Ukraine war.
Interesting. Very interesting.
There will be peace.
All right. My next prediction. Conversely, Brian will also return to form in the 2023 death pool, scoring a total of 0 points for the year.
You're such an asshole. Thank you very much for that one.
Sure.
My fourth prediction is that Twitter will file for bankruptcy. Elon Musk paying over $40 billion. I think it was $44 billion in 2022. The company is failing to show a profit. Finances have gone even worse. Recent news stories this past week were that the Elon Musk had fired the janitors or the cleaning company, and that employees were being asked to bring in their own toilet paper into Twitter headquarters. So I'm going to say Twitter files for bankruptcy in 2023.
Predictions.
Ron,
Yes.
What is your fourth prediction?
Donald Trump will drop out of the 2024 presidential race after losing a CPAC straw pool, claiming that some straws were allowed to vote multiple times.
Oh, no, that's not going to happen. What will happen is there will be a government shutdown due to the political parties not working together and failing to agree on a spending bill.
Ron and Brian. Mediums in predictions, extra large in the pants.
All right, Brian will lose the Super Bowl bet, allowing Ron to retain 51% ownership and the Ron and Brian title belt.
Ron, that is not going to happen. You know that. I know that. It's not even a prediction. I didn't even waste a prediction on that one. We know that hefty belt that has caused you to permanently walk the streets of suburban Philadelphia at an angle, that belt is coming to Queens in 40 days when I win the Super Bowl bet. My prediction, in fact, is that the Minnesota Vikings will play in the 2023 Super Bowl, but lose to the Buffalo Bills.
Interesting. All right. Oh, I'm already judging that wrong. That's okay. Maybe you'll be right. My next prediction, the COVID-19 pandemic will be officially declared over in 2023.
By whom, if I may ask? Because
I think the WHO handles that. So apparently it has not officially ended. So
okay,
I think 2023 is going to be the year.
All right. My seventh prediction, cryptocurrency will suffer at least 2 more significant crashes, further eliminating the likelihood of Brian ever making his investment bank. A lot of people know that I watched the cryptocurrency craze of 2020 happen. 2021, I watched it, Bitcoin just keep going higher and higher. What did I do? I waited to February of 2022 to decide I'm going to get on this train and invest money. Right now, I'm down about 70% of my investment. I could sell now and walk away with some cash, but I refuse to because I'm not a quitter. Cryptocurrency will once again go even lower this year and just make sure that I never make any money. Ron, what is your seventh pick?
All knowing.
My next pick is that Joe Biden's mental fitness will be questioned when he pardons his turkey sandwich the week before Thanksgiving.
That's not nice. Listen, the man is in his 80s. He is the president of the United States. It is just about time that you stop bashing him and accept and embrace that he is the greatest president of all time.
Predictions.
All right,
that's not a prediction. No. That is not my prediction. Prediction number 8. Disgraced U.S. Representative-elect from New York, George Santos, will not resign from the discovery of multiple lies he told during the campaign, and he will serve a term in Congress.
I mean, so far you're looking good on that one. Let's see. Next up, inflation will drop to historic lows, giving Americans more disposable income to spend at the Ron and Brian web store, which you can visit at ronandbrianpodcast.com.
I like that one.
Thank you.
I like that one a lot, Ron. Prediction number 9. Ron will divorce his wife and embrace the furry lifestyle. Ron, we know that you are fans of furries. We know that you have a pink bunny costume. It does show your face. That was, if I remember correctly, that was your furry with training wheels costume. You're not ready for the full, head part of the costume. You will buy, I believe it will be a purple unicorn costume.
Okay.
During 2023, you will divorce your wife, and you will quit your job, and you will travel the country to go from furry convention to furry convention under the guise of scouting hotels that your company can buy.
Is that the entire prediction right there?
Nah, let's just end it with you embracing the furry lifestyle. I think I think it's enough to say that you embrace the furry lifestyle. Do we not?
All right. That's fine. Go there. We'll go there.
Perfect.
All right. My next prediction. Brian will stop projecting his feelings onto Ron and will admit that he, in fact, is a member of the furry community.
No, never going to happen. I am not a furry. Ron, my 10th prediction, my final prediction for 2023, is that Brian will win the 2023 Super Bowl bet against Ron and become 51% owner of the Ron and Brian podcast.
All right, my final prediction for 2023 is that Brian will successfully manage his calendar for the entire year, and he will not cancel attending important events in his friends' lives.
Predictions.
Well, we've got
that is actually a prediction that I am also making.
We've got 363 days to go, so we will see how well this all plays out.
Let's do it. Ron, I think, we talked about it enough times. I think, we do need to discuss the 2022 death pool.
Yes.
The calendar has struck January of 2023. We are looking back on 2022. Yep. And I think it is important that we acknowledge those contestants in our death pool for 2022 who guessed correctly. I think it is important to point out that Brian did not score 0 points this year.
Very true.
Thanks to Jerry Lee Lewis dying. Talk to us, Ron. How did we do this year?
Well, first off, let's say that we are holding off declaring official winners because we have experienced in the past where death announcements have been delayed a little bit. So we just want to make sure we don't announce things too quickly. But as it stands right now in first place, Jocelyn, friend of the podcast, sitting in first place with 81 points. Myself in second place with 66. We have Max and Janelle tied in third for 37. Andrew H. got on the board late in the year with 18 points. Brian, you're sitting in 5th place with 13. Billy, William Esquire at 6th with 9. And then Dom and Erica tied for 7th with 4 points. So as it stands, take me out of the mix. Our top 3 are Jocelyn, Max, and Janelle tied for 2nd. Andrew coming in 3rd. Some of the ones we got right this year. We got, well, you mentioned Jerry Lee Lewis already.
He was my points.
Queen Elizabeth, many people had. Mikhail Gorbachev, another one. Some of these weren't, big surprises. I mean, Philip Baker Hall, he was up there. He was 91 years old. Nichelle Nichols, again, up in her late 80s. Olivia Newton-John, been sick for a while. Pele passing away after an illness at the end of the year. I think probably the 2 most shocking ones, Ray Liotta passing away. I think that was a surprise to a lot of people. But Aaron Carter passing away at the young age of 34. Jocelyn and myself both picking Aaron. Obviously, I got all my points from that. Good enough for 2nd place. So that's that's kind of a strategy that people take at times is picking one of these young troubled souls and seeing what happens to them.
It was and one of the things about the death pool is it's so often misunderstood as rooting for people to die and celebrating the death of some people. And that's not what the death pool is about. It's about friendly competition. It is not the celebration of death. One of the, the things that I will remember in calendar year 22, when people look back, on the year and say, Brian, what significant things had happened to you in 22? It was the number of pieces of drywall that I needed to replace in my apartment after I found out that despite having Aaron Carter on my death pool for 2020 and 2021, I left him off my 2022 death pool list. Truly just an oversight of just global proportions.
Yep.
It was, my super came up and asked me to please stop punching holes. My porters, they got tired of, of carrying, just buckets of plaster to cover up the holes that I have. I mean, I'm no longer able to put up picture frames in my apartment because the walls just are not, they're not sound anymore, and certainly are not load bearing, just because of Aaron Carter. I'm hoping that 2023 will bring more, how do I say this politely, more acceptance on the part of many as to, what the greatness of this death pool is.
Sure. And a record number of entrants for 2023, 33% increase over last year. So a lot of people in play, a lot of points in play. Interesting shift in strategies. You do see, and I think this is again probably due to Aaron Carter, you see more people attempting to throw some younger people into the mix. I mean, there are some, there are some safe bets out there that people went with that we'll get into a little bit more, but also seeing some of the younger people that again maybe are dealing with chronic illnesses, dealing with mental illnesses. So let's real quick look at who our top picks from everybody playing the game was this year. So we've got 5 individuals that 6 people checked off on their list. Al Roker. Obviously been dealing with health issues for a while. Bill Cosby, again, in his 80s, his handlers are putting him out on tour for some reason in 2023. Mel Brooks, that one stung a little bit, seeing people pick Mel Brooks, but again, the man's in his 90s.
You want him to live forever.
Bruce Willis was kind of a surprise for me. I understand he's dealing with that asphoria. Is that what it is? but it seems like it's just
I don't believe it's appropriate for either of us to talk about his ass.
but it seems like that's just more a disease regarding communication and speaking and reading. I don't know if that's a fatal disease.
No, but I do believe that it's similar to dementia. It does just lead to the brain not sending triggering the synapses to make sure that the body is doing everything it needs to do.
And then also getting 6 picks, Kanye West. So I think a lot of people, obviously, I think people are feeling, due to the mental illness, something bad could happen to him.
And I find that very upsetting, because the message that sends is that the Ron and Brian podcast fans, the people that love us, they misunderstand mental illness as being life-threatening. It's something that can be treated, and it's something that medication, therapy. Mental health is very important, but it absolutely can be treated. To sit there and say that a relatively healthy Kanye West is going, it almost sounds like people are hoping he dies, and you never want to see that.
No. Next highest picks with 5, Britney Spears and Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke. Wow, I did not even realize he was still around.
He is still alive. He is 97 years old as of December 13th of last year.
Was she, and I don't know if you have this in front of you, but is he the oldest person that was picked for the death pool? Because one of the geniuses of the death pool, and we communicated on social media multiple times prior to the end of the year.
Sure.
It's too late now for people to get in. But one of the geniuses of the way this pool is set up is that for every year that the person is younger than 100, people who have picked them, and when they die, get an extra point. So this works off of a point system. So if somebody 98 dies and you guess and you put them on your list, you get 2 points. If
Correct.
Somebody who is 50 dies and you have them on your list, you get 50 points. So it is absolutely surprising that so many people would put Dick Van Dyke on.
The oldest entry, I believe, is a few people picked Bob Barker, former Price is Right host, who turned 99 on December 21st. So only 1 point. But again, if it's a close year,
sure,
that 1 point could push you over.
Well, I think a lot of it also has to do with just, nobody wants to end the year on a goose egg. You want to make sure that you have some points on that board, just for bragging rights at the table during Thanksgiving. I know that, for the past month, people have been focusing on Christmas and New Year's, but, the stories during, the early part of December of just, families that were getting into physical altercations over, family members who had, not guessed anybody correctly. I understand Bob Barker picks in that case. Makes for a very happier familial Thanksgiving.
All right, Brian, I know you like your picks. Obviously, you picked them.
Sure.
I like my picks. But in reviewing picks that other competitors made,
Sure.
Who were some of the ones you saw that other people made that you were like, man, I wish I had picked that one?
Oh, I mean, I saw Ben Vereen, and I sat there and said, "Damn it!" Carol Burnett, and so Andy Dick was one that just really.
Well, you made Andy Dick's pick, so that's.
Well, I know that. I was just throwing. Of course, Ron. That's my way of slightly making sure that you're paying attention.
Always, my friend.
Gary Busey was one that I was jealous when I saw that 2 people have picked Gary Busey also, and this is one that I thought was very interesting. Was Gary Glitter?
Love the Gary Glitter pick.
Popular, in the '80s with whatever that song he had. Hey, rock and roll or whatever it was.
Rock and roll part 2.
Has been in prison for almost 20 years on pedophilia charges. Somebody picking him. What I like about it is that it's twofold. One is that he is released into the general population, and is taken out by somebody who is a pedophile hunter. And also, it also has the likelihood that he goes out there and finds all of the underage women that he can have sex with and cannot handle the lifestyle because he is now 20 years older, dies of a heart attack. I mean, just a genius pick. Ron, what made you jealous when you looked at the picks?
Again, I loved the Gary Glitter pick. Val Kilmer. I think that's a great pick. A few people picked Val Kilmer. Some of the long shot picks that I really liked. Christina Applegate was a good pick now that she's having some medical concerns. I think Nick Cannon, very random pick there, but highly plausible. The man's got 37 children. It's got to take a bit of a toll on you. Doc Antle from the Tiger King, great pick. So it's gonna be an interesting year. I like my picks though, Brian. I gotta admit, I like my picks. I like my chances.
Now, what's interesting is that this is one area where you and I will not be wagering over.
Correct. There's too much. It's too off the wall. Oh, Randy Quaid was another one. I was like, man, that's a great pick.
Didn't even know he was still alive. I thought he was gone. I know that he had, gone down the MAGA QAnon wormhole, but he was so off my radar that when I saw him, I got jealous.
I mean, George Wendt from Cheers.
Yeah.
Just because that's the thing. You see a lot of very random celebrity deaths throughout the year. And so I think there's a level of randomness, people that are older that other people tend to forget.
Yeah, and the one thing that really is, that makes me feel proud to be, working within this organization is looking at people's different entries. It really made me proud to see the amount of people who had really put a time and effort into their entries. This, this was not, you do not see an entry where people just throw in, oldest celebrities or only 6 celebrities. But this was, you knew that there were people out there, in fact, 33% more people than last year, who really had spent some time and effort making their selections, with the goal of, I want to score as many points in this pool as possible.
Sure.
Just an exciting time. Speaking of celebrity deaths, Ron.
Well, wait, before we get to celebrity obituaries, just 2 more things I want to point out. Cousin Brucey, I forgot how much I loved the Cousin Brucey pick. Again, he's in his 80s. I think that's a great pick.
Stop out, time out. Cousin Brucey is still around?
He is still alive. He's still DJing on the radio, Cousin Brucey.
No, that has to be artificial intelligence just cutting and pasting the different words he has said over the years. I imagine they took Cousin Brucey and just put him in the studio for a couple hours and had him read the dictionary so that they could properly just put the words together.
I think my favorite long shot pick comes from Andrew H. Andrew H. Again, Andrew H. didn't win this year. He's a 2-time champion.
Correct.
It looks like he's going to finish 3rd this year. So I think you kind of have to start talking dynasty when you look at Andrew H. and you look at the death pool.
Sure.
I think that's the conversation that starts to happen. He put Ezra Miller on his list. The dude that was the Flash. The dude has been arrested 8 times and is just clearly off the wall out there in Hawaii.
And he's gone to rehab already multiple times.
The kid is 20 years old and careening down just a really dark path. Excuse me, he's 30 years old. 30, I apologize.
30. That is 70. That is 70 points for Andrew H. Genius pick.
Andrew H. getting his picks in literally 20 minutes before the end of the year. And I saw the Ezra Miller pick and I was like, fucking genius. This is why this man is a competitor. This is why this man is a champion.
Yeah, he is the Kobe Bryant of celebrity death pools.
Ooh, ouch. Ouch.
What?
Also, another good thing, Andrew H., the only person to still have Tekashi 6ix9ine on his death pool. Again, that's a high 0.1 as well.
Mm.
I believe he's only he's 26 maybe.
That is 74 points. I mean, listen, 2023, there is so much to look forward to when it comes to the celebrity death pool. You know, it made me very happy to see so many new people come in,
Yep.
people who were not in last year, not in the year before. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the party, pal. It's going to be fun times.
But as you were saying, Brian, we lost some people this last week of the year. Some which people had picked for 2023 had to make some changes. Pele was one that a lot of people had picked, passing away a couple days before the end of the year at the age of 82. Pope Benedict, the 14th, Brian, I know he was on your list for 2023, passing away at the end of the year at 95. Barbara Walters, legendary newswoman, dead at 93. And then, obviously, we missed it while we were away. Franco Harris, number retired at the Steelers game last weekend. Immaculate
reception, yes.
Dead at 72. And then you put this one on. I'm not familiar with Ruggero Deodato, director of the most controversial film ever, dead at 83. What was that film, Brian?
Are you not familiar with his work?
Is he the director of Human Centipede?
No. He is the director of the legendary 1980 movie called Cannibal Holocaust, infamous for featuring acts of sadomasochism, real animal slaughter, sparking outrage around the world and resulting in the film being banned in several countries. He was actually arrested after the movie had been made. Police seized all copies of the film. He was prosecuted for allegedly killing his own actors. And he literally had to convince the actors to return to the country it was filmed in to prove to the court that they were still alive.
And let's also let's give some credit to our very own William Esquire, Don West, former TNA wrestling announcer. He had been on William's 23 death pool list, passing away after dealing with an illness at the age of 59. William could have started the year with 41 points.
I know.
Instead, just misses it by a very narrow margin.
Yeah, it's rough.
It is, and again, we don't celebrate death here, but it is interesting to see how the world works sometimes.
Also, we are on a death watch. I don't know whether people are aware, but Jeremy Renner apparently is going to need multiple surgeries after extensive injuries were sustained by the 51-year-old Marvel star earlier this week after his leg was run over by a snowplow while he was walking on his Nevada property.
And also don't forget Martina Navratilova announcing today that she has been diagnosed with both throat and breast cancer. Obviously one of the all-time tennis greats. We are sending, as always, thoughts and prayers out her way.
Thoughts and prayers. I think it's the thing we need to most. It's the thing that's going to get us through the most difficult times of 2023.
Now, we've got some stories.
That's odd. I wonder where Ron went. Or did I go somewhere? We'll keep talking. I don't even.
Not quite sure what happened there. We had a little bit of cutting out. We will wait and see if Brian comes back here. Gotta love the internet, folks. Hold on a second. All right. Oh,
what happened there, Ron?
I don't know. I got kicked out for some reason, so we all got kicked out.
So you got kicked out, and then I came back in because I thought I was still going, and then I got booted out.
I tell you, it's the Russians, basically. It's the Russians. Anyway,
that's a shame. That is absolutely a shame. And here we go. Obviously, the true answer is that our friend Matt is, with his voracious cocaine addiction, he did bring it in to 2023. Matt's all coked up, and he hit the wrong button. Matt, Don't do that ever again.
So we have a story that we've been following for a couple weeks now, and it's one of those stories that the more you get into the story, the crazier it is. It involves a former Coppin State basketball player who has filed a lawsuit against his assistant coach for allegedly manipulating him into sending nude photos and blackmailing him into filming a sexual encounter. In the lawsuit, Coppin State assistant coach Lucian Brownlee was accused of allegedly catfishing former basketball player Evan Williams by posing as a woman in an online relationship. So we're going to start there in that Brownlee.
Hold up. Stop right there.
Right.
That is a lot to unwrap.
So the assistant coach posing as a woman, going after one of the players, Evan Williams. Brownlee persuaded Williams to send photos and sexual text messages during their online conversations in order to keep, quote, her interested in their relationship. Although Williams expected the relationship to progress, it fell into something sinister when the catfisher threatened to release the explicit material if he did not send more sexual images. So then, this is going on and whatnot. Then the coach, Lucian Brownlee, goes to Williams and says, I'm being catfished by the same individual. And so she's now saying that if we don't have sex together and film it, she's going to release the images that she has of both of us.
Sure.
So this player, worried about how this is going to impact his life, impact his scholarship, everything else, has sex with this assistant coach who was the one catfishing him from the very beginning.
Where do you? I literally stunned and speechless. That I don't even know where in that story to point out, to ask questions and whatnot. The outrageous part of all this story is that he continued to play for the team because he was afraid of losing. I mean, we're talking about the player here. He was afraid of losing his Division I scholarship, his room, his board from the school. So he continued to show up to practice even after reporting that an assistant coach had, in effect, raped him after catfishing him.
Right.
He reported it to the school, and his head coach's instructions were, show up to practice tomorrow and let's see how this pans out. That is the part that is just jaw-dropping.
And the head coach of Coppin State still has his job.
Oh, yeah, he hasn't been fired yet.
Whether he should or not is up for speculation, but we will definitely see how this plays out. Staying in the sports arena,
Sure.
Alexandra Eckersley, daughter of former Red Sox pitcher Dennis Eckersley, has been charged for leaving a newborn baby freezing in the woods. I believe we have her mugshot here. There she is up on the screen. So her baby was found unclothed and freezing in 18-degree weather in a dark wooded area in New Hampshire. Officers had responded to a report of a woman who had given birth to a baby in a tent in the woods. And then Alexandra allegedly lied to the authorities about the baby's whereabouts and claimed she had given birth prematurely. After an hour of searching, police found the baby uncovered and struggling to breathe. They were able to get the infant to Catholic Medical Center, and his health is improving. She was obviously arraigned and arrested for endangering the welfare of a child.
And just first off, awful story.
Yes.
Just an awful story. You have to just imagine what type of, where is a human brain that would sit there and just make that conscious decision to abandon a newborn baby in 18-degree weather. And then you see this photo, this mugshot of the adopted daughter of former Boston Red Sox great Dennis Eckersley. I like to pronounce it Eckersley. I know you earlier said Eckersley and then had to start over again.
Yes.
But you look at this photo and you're very surprised that the word methamphetamine was not used at any point during the initial article that came up, was used in subsequent articles. And then as you're looking at this mugshot, you say to yourself, well, of course, she's got the red puffy eyes. She's got that 1,000-yard stare and very unkempt hair. This woman could have been in Breaking Bad.
Also ironic that in October, Dennis Eckersley had retired from being a sportscaster on NESN, stating at that time that he wished to spend more time with his grandchildren. Little did he know he would need to travel to the woods in New Hampshire to do so.
Well, is it possible he didn't even know? I know that they were estranged and not necessarily on good terms. I mean, people, speaking of being on good terms, let's just take one more opportunity and appreciate this shirt, which I will be putting up for auction on eBay as a worn T-shirt for, all benefits from the eBay sale will go towards Dennis Eckersley's grandchild's college tuition fund. And absolutely, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, not be going in my pocket. Who wants to own this shirt? It will be online tomorrow.
All right.
Ron,
yes.
What is that heavy piece of metal and leather on your left shoulder?
I just picked up the Ron and Brian 51% ownership title belt again, but we've got a couple more stories to get to, Brian. Let's keep things going here. A teen in India miraculously survived after a javelin was thrown through his neck in a freak track and field accident. Gotta love
this.
New York.
Can't be real, Ron. There's no way that this story could be real. Holy cow!
The New York Post even had a photo still of a video. This happened on December 17th while Sadanand Meher, age 14, was playing sports as the Aglapur High School in Odisha, India. Apparently, a student threw the spear that ended up piercing the boy's neck, going in one end and out the other. Thankfully, not as bad an injury as it would seem from having a javelin through your neck. Doctors were able to remove the spear, and he survived without sustaining long-term injury.
My goodness. Now, I have a question. I have not spent a lot of time watching track and field. My understanding from, and it is limited knowledge, my understanding of the javelin as a sport is that it is something that is thrown at an angle in the air for distance, and that the trajectory of the javelin is that it goes up and then it hits a point where gravity suddenly starts to take over the forward momentum, and then it starts to come down at an angle. If you pull up that photo once again, Ron, I ask you, please, even though you've already deleted it.
I need to pull up a better photo, Brian, which I don't know why.
That javelin appears to be going at an even 90 degree. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, again, I guess it depends on, how this hit him exactly. I don't want to laugh, but the poor kid literally made to just, sit in this plastic chair with a javelin through your neck while we figure out how exactly we're going to address this.
And the part that kills me about this photo is that everybody's looking off into a different direction.
Like nobody wants to make eye contact with this kid.
Nobody's looking at him to make sure that he's okay. Oh my God, this is terrible. I mean, you ask yourself the question of who would throw this. Here's the answer. Clearly, producer of the Ron and Brian podcast, Matt, all coked up. He throws javelins. We know that in his spare time. Obviously, that's what happened. I
mean, the guy in yellow on the right is probably like, man, I hope the school paid off their insurance bill.
Oh, this is in India. There's very I would have to say that, They do not have necessarily the same exhaustive legal system that requires malpractice insurance. William Esquire asking the questions that need to be asked. The callback earlier from our story discussing the 2022 predictions. Lambda, Lambda, Lambda. Great. Lamar Luttrell.
Very nice.
Javelin star. William Esquire. I believe that's the comment of the day.
Give it to him. Got to give it to him. One last story before we get out of here. Just pure America to finish off here. A recent study by the website lendingtree.com finds out that 18% of families that visit Disney, either in Florida or California, end up going into debt to finance their trip.
So what you're saying is that 18% of the people that go to Disneyland are in debt already, and that
Not exactly. I'm saying that they borrow money either from a credit card or family members. 80% of them do say that they'll pay off their debt in 6 months or less. Not quite sure how accurate that is.
But these are people that are either in debt and going into deeper debt, or
Possibly.
These are people that are willing to go into debt just so that they can go to Disneyland or Disney World or whatever the fuck you just said for vacation.
So now the survey found that 56% were surprised by the price of food and drink, while 48% said the ticket prices were beyond what they initially had thought. My question is, how are you not checking these things before?
Yeah.
If you're going to Disney on vacation, how are you not checking these things before you go?
Because they're Americans and they just sit there and go, well, everything's going to just work out. There's no need for me to put any time or effort into research beforehand. I'm just amazed that about the number of people that are willing to go into debt just to be able to experience the pain and misery that is Disney World.
Yeah, I my dad took us when we were younger. And God bless him. I don't know how he managed to do that. I mean, I was, probably 13. My brother was 17. No, maybe I was 10. My brother was 14.
Right.
Regardless. But again, I don't know how people can be surprised about the cost of food and drink when, in the same week of this story about the debt and going to Disneyland, it also shows that Disney sells a $185 holiday drink served in a little waffle cone shot glass. And we got a little picture of the shot glass here.
So that is $180 each.
So apparently, if this is at the Grand Californian Hotel and Spa, it is like I said, it is a waffle shot. In a waffle cone-like base that's lined with milk or white chocolate. It's made with Remy Martin Louis XIII Grand Champagne Cognac, which retails for $4,000 a bottle.
Now, what I find so amazing is that you've got people who are spending $180 on this shot of cognac at Disney. Meanwhile, legendary singer Gary Glitter is right now in Thailand or Indonesia with $180 in his pocket, and he is getting way more bang for the buck than those people that are going to Disney.
That apparently is correct.
And that's what we're talking about.
So William Esquire now reporting that a player may have just died on the field during Monday Night Football. Not seeing anything.
Send a link or it's not happening.
We need video of that. So if it did, we'll report on it next week.
And you know where we are going to report it, Ron. We're going to report on that in After Dark, which we are going to be doing in 22 minutes from now. Ron, tell the people what After Dark is.
So it is exclusive content for our Patreon subscribers. You subscribe at $10 a month or higher, gets you access to the live video, which will start at 9:30. Oh, the game is showing is delayed now. saying Hamlin injured on the play. So if they're actually delaying the game, yeah, that cannot be good. But anyway, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. Go to the upper right-hand corner. Click on Become a Patron. Again, you join at the $10 level or higher, and you can join us at 9:30. Tonight is our pajama party, so a special 1 hour episode where we allow our Patreon subscribers to join us, and then we will also have a Can You Beat Ron, which is a game show concept come up with by Brian. And if you can beat Ron, we will make a $25 donation to the winner's charity of choice.
That's not good that they're doing CPR on the guy for 10 minutes.
Not good. So we will let's wrap this up. Let's check and see what is going on the game, and we will do After Dark in about 20 minutes. Brian, Happy New Year to you, my friend. Looking forward to doing this
Ron.
again with you. Anything additional before we cut on out for the week?
Absolutely nothing. You know what? 2023, I think, will be our year. If I can include one last prediction for 2023, and that is that our After Dark Patreon will explode in popularity. You and I will be able to quit our day jobs and we'll be able to do the show forever.
God willing. Well, thank you all for joining us. Patreon folks, we'll see you in 20 minutes. Everybody else, we will see you next Sunday.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again next week.